I've been looking forward to opening this package. I know what's supposed to be inside, but I've never actually seen one in person or even online before I got this one. Now, it's not a vintage television. It's not even a radio. In fact, it's something that most collectors have probably never even heard of. Let's check this out and see if it's as impressive as I'm hoping it to be.
Vintage gaming memories.
Well, I'm guessing this is probably not what you expect to see. At first glance, it just looks like a nice storage case. But this wasn't made to just sit in a closet or protect something while it was being shipped. This is actually an official Panasonic presentation case, and it was created specifically for one product, for the Panasonic Mica 1 model TR-001 personal portable television. What made it even more special was that this was the first pocket-sized television ever made available to the public. And with a screen measuring just 1.5 inches, it was also the world's smallest television. Now tell me that's not impressive. Just check out this satin lined interior. It has molded compartments. And it has that Panasonic branding right inside. Panasonic clearly wasn't just trying to make an ordinary carrying case. They wanted opening this to feel like it was an event. And I think they actually passed that test. It does need to be cleaned up a little bit. Let me give you a quick rundown on the measurements. That might help a little bit. When you're viewing a video, you really can't get a good idea of how big or small something is. Well, this comes in at about 12.25 inches wide, which I'm thinking it's going to be the same. Nope, it's a little bit different. It's about 11.5 in depth. And then the height is going to be at 4 inches. And you can kind of see in the bottom there all the stuff that's coming off of it. Definitely could use a little bit of a cleanup. You know, while we're at it, let me just give you a look at all the sides. This will give you a closer look at the overall condition. The latch looks really good. Corners, not too bad. I mean, they're intact. The back hinges also look good. And same on this side. Keep in mind, this is over 55 years old. Oh, let me show you another thing that's pretty cool about this. This is the bottom. Looks like there's little stains here, but it's still solid. It's not warped into it or falling apart, so that's okay. But over in this bottom left corner, you can see something that's pretty interesting. This is the Panasonic label with the model number and serial number 000136. There's a close-up. So what's really interesting is that this wasn't just a serial number for the case itself. Panasonic matched each presentation case to the specific TR-001 television it originally contained. So in other words, the television that came in this case would have also carried the same serial number 000136. So what I'm guessing is that these weren't just generic display boxes. Each one was paired with its television at the factory, making the case and the TV a matching set. It's details like that which make surviving examples so remarkable, because over the years, many of these cases and televisions became separated. This is already an impressive piece, but I'm going to try to make it even better. It just needs a little TLC, kind of bring back some of its original appearance, and also on the inside to clean up some of the debris. So I'm going to give it a careful cleaning, not a restoration, just a good cleaning, and then we'll come back and take another look at the finished results. Well, here's how it looks after I delicately clean this up. Now, I first started with removing this padded inside compartment. So if you look at the box now, and it's going to be emptied on the inside because of this padding is removed. It's just the wood. So this was in there. Took that out. And then I started to vacuum this purple material, which might be more like a rayon satin or something similar, but it's definitely not silk. So I vacuumed this out really carefully. And then one of the things that really impressed me after I took a closer look at this case is just how much thought went into the construction of it. Now, at first glance, it just looks like a satin-lined presentation box. But once I started to examine it, I realized that it's actually a really well-engineered piece. So this insert just isn't a block of foam with fabric thrown over it. What Panasonic did was they sculptured this expanded polystyrene, which is really just styrofoam, and they shaped it. You can see there's two layers. Under this cardboard, I'm going to lift this up carefully so I don't damage anything, but under this you will see there's compartments. It's cut out really nice, and it's like done with a knife. It's not like machine manufactured. And there's little ridges and so forth to make these little compartments. Kind of neat how they did it. And then you can actually see some of this original tape, which I left in place. And look at that, how they tucked that material. They just kind of carefully tucked it and glued it into place. You know, it's almost like, kind of someone doing some upholstery on a piece of furniture, but definitely on a smaller scale. If you could just see how they did this, it's pretty neat. So what's really interesting or special that I think is that these folds aren't just random. They're consistent all the way around, which suggests this wasn't a one-off custom job. It looks like there was a repeatable assembly process behind it, even though each of these inserts was still finished by hand. Another reason for using that polystyrene foam is that it is easy to shape because you can cut it and it won't fall apart and crumble in pieces, but it's also stronger and it keeps the weight down. Now I'm going to definitely keep this as is. Like I mentioned, that tape that's originally on there, I am not going to remove that. It's still doing its purpose of holding it in place, but I think that's kind of cool to see something from 50 years ago. Actually, more than 50. We're going on 55 plus years. All right, let's take a look at this presentation case. Let me move this to the side. I think Panasonic did a really nice job with the construction of this outer shell. It just isn't like a cardboard box that you expect from a retail packaging. They built this from rigid panels that feel much more substantial. My guess is that it's made from a combination of thin wood and fiberboard, I guess. This is pretty much a common construction method they would use for premium presentation cases during this time, which would be in the 1970s. Now on the outside, you can see it's wrapped in two different types of finishes, despite the difference in color. The lower half has this black covering that's like a subtle texture finish, while this lid is covered in this silver material that has more of like a leather-like grain to it. It's not leather, but it gives that look. It's wrapped kind of like a hardcover book. Kind of gives a very upscale appearance, while it actually protects the case from scratches and wear, but you can definitely see some wear on it. Now, if you look at the corners, you can also see how this was wrapped. It's folded over the panels really carefully. Kind of reminds me of some of those high-end jewelry boxes or camera cases. I should probably mention how I actually cleaned this, since you saw how it looked all taken apart and how the actual box looks now after I did some careful cleaning. Again, it's not a restoration, it was more just of a cleanup. So I did use a vacuum, but a very low-powered one that wouldn't pull the material away from the actual stitching. And then I used combination of things. Nothing that was antibacterial. I used some distilled water along with just a drop of Dawn. And then I dipped it in a microfiber towel. And you can see what came off of it. This was definitely dirt. This wasn't any of the paint. So there was a lot to be removed. The microfiber towel was helpful. And it wasn't very damp. It was just lightly damp. And I think it turned out pretty good. I mean, it's not going to be completely without any wear because that would be kind of like repainting it. Oh, and the bottom, I should show you that. So the bottom looks a little bit better. I can't tell, but it had some stuff coming off of it. There's nothing that's falling apart. Nothing's, coming off on my workbench area anymore because I think I got all the debris off of it. So it looks good. And again, it's solid. So now what I should do is put this insert back in. And then let me give you an idea of how this would look if we had a TR-001 or a Mica one inside this box. All right, we'll check this out. This particular TR-001 is easily one of the top 3 prized pieces in my collection. I actually did an in-depth video on it a few years ago, so if you haven't seen that one yet, be sure to check it out. Now what makes this television especially unique is the engraving that's on the back, or actually on the front in this view. It was a gift from Don Fedderson, the legendary Hollywood television producer, whose name is even on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It was given to the iconic actor, comedian, producer, and philanthropist, Danny Thomas. And as you can see with this case, Panasonic designed this thing perfectly. The television fits right in the center there, including the magnifying piece that goes right on front. And then to the right, we have the AC adapter. Fits nicely in a little compartment. I have the cables in the back. And then we have over here, this is the rechargeable battery, which obviously is not in use. And then we have a little cleaning cloth there that you'd use to polish or clean off the lens. So that way you have a nice clear viewing display. And I'm not sure if I'm missing anything else, but I might be on this side here. Obviously, you can put the manuals in there. And I even have a carrying case, which I am not sure if this would ever have gone in there, but that's another piece that goes with the TR-001. I would love to know if anyone has ever seen a case like this before. Be sure to comment down below and let me know what you all think. That'll do it for this video. This is the Circa 1970 Panasonic Mica 1 model TR-001 display box. Thank you all for watching. Your time is greatly appreciated. And until next time, keep your gaming passion from the past alive by living it today. Take care, everyone.